All right. It's my privilege to introduce Scotty Clawson to share his job search story. He's in a different room than before. Before we have a pretty amazing room. This also looks like an amazing room. But Scotty, it's all yours. Thank you for coming and sharing your story today with everybody.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, Steve. I've known Steve for a while, and the first time we met was after I got laid off at a company called Beal Marieux. They got us in contact with each other to kind of help us with that transition. And um, yeah, it's, the rest is history. So Steve's been amazing at giving me tips, and I love the text messages every morning to kind of help remind me to stay positive throughout the day. So, Steve, I really appreciate that. Thank you again.
Welcome.
So, how long do you want me to take, Steve?
As long as you need.
Okay. You guys can go ahead and ask questions throughout if it helps. I hate when you get to the end and people are like, oh, I had a question, but I can't remember. So, go ahead and just chime in if anyone's got a question. So, to answer Steve's question earlier about my picture, yes, I did draw that. I originally started as a an artist. So we're very in the community that I'm a part of. We're very anti AI because it's we believe that it scrapes from existing information and reuses it, and so we're not really a big fan of that. But however, I see it as a tool, and it has a lot of potential and can be used to do some pretty amazing things. So there's some hot and cold with that side of things. So I'm going to share my screen real fast. Go right here. All right. Can everybody see this okay? Yeah. All right. So this is my Instagram. This has got a lot of the stuff that I've done over the past decade. I've done quite a bit. I've worked for companies like Nickelodeon, Biomerieux, which is a medical diagnostic company, but they actually did some really fun characters and branding. Um, yeah. Has anybody ever been inside of a Harmons before? Yeah, have you seen the artwork inside the Harmons? The signs that they have, those are hand painted signs that they actually have an artist on staff with their own office, and they pay for all the materials, and they basically give us free reign to paint and draw whatever we want, which is pretty unique and pretty cool. It's honestly, it was one of my favorite gigs. Um, but we'll uh, we'll get more to there in just a minute. So let's start right here. I can remember how to use this. All right. I'm going to repurpose this. This was for a brand presentation I did at UVU. And so I'm going to kind of repurpose this to help give everybody kind of an idea of my mindset and where I come from. So I'm an athlete. I'm a competitive martial artist as well as a competitive archer. I'm a dad of three. My wife's a gym trainer, and I'm also a really big nerd. You can't see it yet. I still have to get a lot of my stuff hung up, but everything else around me, yeah, I'll spare you. There's quite a bit of nerdery stuff in here. So real quick to begin back in 2012, I was actually an engineering student. I was going to the U to be a mechanical engineer, and I wanted to design motorcycles and wanted to design cars. And I was working for as a mechanic at the time. I actually went to trade school, and let's see right here. There we go. I went to trade school. I absolutely loved it. It was really a lot of fun to get your hands dirty and figure out how to make things go really really fast. And I ended up going to Torrance, California, and was able to train out at the Honda facility headquarters for the United States. And the bottom left hand picture is an image of the facility that we worked in. So they had different stations where we would go through, and they would have machines that had different problems. We'd have to correctly diagnose them and then reveal our answers. So the final step was after this, it was a 4-week process, and we had to go back for a week every couple of months. And the very final test was we had a V twin engine that we were supposed to completely dismantle, measure, clean, re-lubricate, and then figure out what was wrong with it, and then put it back together and make it run in front of the instructor for 10 seconds. So that was my final test, which was it was so much fun. But figuring out that the valves weren't correctly lapped and making sure that the transmission was lined up properly, like all those things went into it, and you had to mark it down. You had to measure the pistons, measure the cylinders, but and they would then check your answers and make sure that you were as thorough as possible. But yeah, that was really fun. I've raced motorcycles. So the top left is me racing at Miller Motorsports Park back when it was Miller. The top right is my bay when I worked for the Honda dealership. And I missed it a little bit. It is kind of rough on your body. There's a lot of ups and downs. You come home covered in grease, covered in oil all the time. A lot of the people you meet aren't really the greatest. And so that lifestyle was easy to leave, but I do miss. There's different aspects. I still have friends that I've hung out with and that have actually helped me, get work later in life. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of the Ninja Turtles. So ever since I was a little kid, I've loved Ninja Turtles and I've loved drawing. And while I was going to school at the University of Utah, I had an art teacher. I was taking a class as an elective. He came up to me and said, what are you doing? So I'm a mechanical engineer. I want to design, cars and motorcycles. And he goes, I think you should do something different. You've spent so much time in this class trying to improve on your work. I feel like this is where you should be. So I really took that to heart and tried to weigh out the pros and cons and was like, okay, let's make a transition. Let's switch and see what happens. And yeah, my wife at the time wasn't very thrilled about that transition. We had only been married just for a little while when that happened. And she said that she thought she was going to be the wife of a wealthy engineer, not the wife of a poor artist. And so that was kind of the beginning of the end of that relationship. And so, pull that up. There we go. Okay, so this was one of the a good progress of what I had done in high school and what I had done one semester at the U. And I wasn't the greatest artist, as you can tell. I definitely struggled, but I put a lot of time and effort into it. And the image on the right was what I brought back to my class. And from there, he said that with as much time as you put into this class, I feel like it'd be a waste to not pursue it or not explore it, at least for just a little bit, and see what comes of it. Well, after that transition, my wife at the time, she and I divorced, and then 6 months later, she passed away. And that was kind of a come to Jesus moment. Like, what was I going to do? How was I going to pursue this? Was I really going to stick with this, or should I go back to being a mechanic? What should I do? And I decided to stick with it. I decided to continue to be an artist. And I transitioned from the University of Utah down to Utah Valley University because they had an illustration program. At the time, that was 2013. At the time, there weren't very many schools that had an illustration program. BYU did have one, and I tried to get in there and brought everything that I had done up at the U. And I had, if anyone's ever gone through the process of BYU, I don't know if there's any BYU graduates in here, but I had a little bit of a beard and I had long hair. And I went into BYU, into their illustration office, and they said, well, we like your stuff. We think you got good potential, but you're not going to fit in here. And so that was kind of a realization that BYU is out. And I tried applying a couple of times and got rejected. And so I was like, okay, I guess BYU is not going to work out. So I went to UVU, which was amazing because a lot of the professors that retire at BYU, they end up at UVU. So you're still getting a lot of that same education and a lot of those same principles. So transitioning over to UVU, um, it was bitter work. It was rough because I was going to school as a designer and illustrator and trying to find work as an illustrator. I was always taught that, why not get into the industry that you're trying to be in at the same time so you can, kind of use it as a double whammy. So you got, assignments and things that you can work on, but the work that you produce, pays you. And so I ended up getting a job at Harmon's as an artist. And one of the artists that was already there, I went into his office beforehand and just started talking with him. And so we were in Taylorsville, I think it was. And the artist and I just started connecting, just started talking about art and talking about what we liked and what we didn't like and what was cool. And unbeknownst to me, because I had gone in beforehand and made that connection, he was the deciding factor on who got that job. And so we went up and we all had to do an art test. They put us into a room, gave us a bunch of art materials and said, create a sign. And I said, well, do you have any other, information, anything else? And they said, nope, create a sign. We want to see what you do. And so I did. I created one about 4th of July hot dogs, grilling on the barbecue. And it turned out Dave, the artist that I had spoken to before, he was the one that decided, oh, yeah, I like Scott's. Scott's is the one that's going to make it through. And, that kind of opened my eyes to, oh, well, I need to start getting to know more people. I need to start getting my work in front of more people because it's really important. Art is very subjective. Somebody could come in and say, oh, the drawing on the left, that's pretty good. And might want to do something with it. But, from my point of view, I look at that, I cringe. I'm like, ugh, like that's, ugh, yeah, don't show that to anybody. But, as it goes on, when you're just doodling, I don't know if anybody knows or remembers there's a game app. I think it was Draw Some. I can't remember what it's called, but I was just, goofing around with friends and have my siblings would share my drawings and my friends would share my drawings and I would talk to people. Oh, hey, yeah, someone mentioned that you play this game. Do you want to play with me? Sure, why not? Trying to take every opportunity to get my work in front of people and to share more about what I do. Now, these are all like on a phone screen with just your finger, and so they're not they're not great. But the point was to create as much as I possibly could and get it out in front of as many people as possible. Kind of, a marketing sense, just get that stuff out as quickly as possible. And then I had people invite me to do chalk art festivals. So I had a buddy on the top left. His name's Trevor. He convinced me to come out and try a chalk art festival. And from there, I got some momentum and kind of kept going. So I did one on the right of Optimus Prime. I did one in the middle of Western Batman. And I got to do a couple of others. And that actually led to an opportunity at UVU to go to Germany. They invited me to come out to Germany to travel the Fairy Tale Trail. If anybody's ever heard of that, which if you haven't, look it up. It's amazing. It's where all of the Grimm's brothers came up with their fairy tales. So like Rapunzel, Snow White, the Pied Piper, and each of those cities has statues and monuments to a lot of those stories, which is pretty neat. But because I got to do that, I got to go on this trip to Germany and publish a book. And then as I was working at Harmon's, I met another beautiful young lady. And she was incredibly supportive. The first few months that we were together, she bought me an art desk. And, her parents thought she was crazy. The person that she had just started dating and working with was, you were willing to spend this much money on him. And I couldn't believe it that someone was so willing to support what I did and what I was trying to do. And she actually knew some people in California. And she set up a couple of meetings where we were able to go out and go to San Diego Comic Con. And from there, I don't know if anybody's ever been to San Diego Comic Con, but everything is lottery based. Everything. It's not like you just go in, you get into a line, and um, excuse me. Oh, you get to do what you want to do. Like we went and stood in line for things. We had to draw names out of hats. Like, oh, you want to go meet these celebrities? You got to draw a name out of a hat. And only a select few were able to even get to the end of the line. And so when I went to apply for work at San Diego Comic Con, you had to go type your name into a computer. You had to then be auto generated into a list. So there was no guarantee you were going to get an interview with any of the companies that were there. And when the list was generated, they'd print it out and they'd stick it on one of the cubicles. And as luck would have it, I made it on every single list. And so I went and sat and waited my turn. But what I realized as an artist was, I'm looking left and right down, these long rows of chairs with cubicles on either side. There's people, interviewing artists, and nobody was drawing. Everyone was just kind of sitting there. Everyone's just kind of, really nervous, really just, shaking. And I thought, why aren't we drawing? So I pulled out my iPad and I, look for the first person, the next person that's going to interview me, and I start to draw her. And her name is Amy. And she was the intern representative for Nickelodeon. And I walked up to her and she said, hi. And I said, hi, before we get started, I just wanted to ask you. I turned my iPad around. I said, how did I do? And she went, oh my gosh, I work in an animation studio and no one's ever drawn me before. This is so cool. Thank you so much. Can you send that to me? And I said, yeah, what's your email address? And was able to snowball that into an internship. So I had made such a memorable impression that she messaged me and called me a couple months later and said, hey, we have a spot. We would love you to come out and to California and be an intern. And I had a job at Harmon's, so I was already working as an artist. I had just started my next semester at school. I was about to get married, and there was one more. There was one more thing. Okay, yeah. So I get off the phone with Amy, and I call my boss, and I call my teachers, and I call my fiance at the time, and I'm like, "So this happened. I really want to do it. What do you think?" And my boss said, "Go. This is going to be great. This will be great for when you come back. Go." My wife said, "This is the whole reason why you're working for this. Go." And my instructors say, we'll make an exception for you. We will get on Zoom calls and we'll privately teach you. Go. This is the whole point. You're in school. Like, you should take this. You should go. Oh, that was it. I had gotten a position at UVU as a illustrator for the UVU Review, so a newspaper illustrator. I had just started doing that. I had done 2, maybe 3 illustrations for them doing that, and they were not great. Right here. You can be the judge for yourself. But the whole reason why that worked out was because everyone was applying for the stained glass window project that was happening, and nobody had applied for this job. The only reason why I got this job is because I showed up and I applied. That was it. It was definitely not because of my portfolio, because as you can see, it was not that great. But I showed up anyway and said, hey, I'm willing to do this. Let's do it. And so I actually had a couple of things that I had done published in the UVU paper, which was really cool. And so I went to the editor and I'm like, so I know that you just hired me. I'm still willing to do remote work and still send you stuff digitally. And he's like, well, we actually really need you in class, so that's not going to work. So that didn't end up working out, which was kind of a bummer. But I ended up getting to go to Nickelodeon. And I spent about 6 months at Nickelodeon, which was super, super cool. They even, initiated us and slimed us, if anybody knows what that is, where Nickelodeon is very, very well known for their green slime. And that was kind of the kid inside of me was very excited. It was very cold. It's edible. It's just green food coloring with applesauce and oats. And so they keep it in the fridge so it doesn't spoil. But I ruined those clothes. Those clothes, they were not, yeah, I didn't save those clothes. They were where they went straight to the garbage. But that was definitely really cool. And getting to do some artwork officially for Nickelodeon as an intern was super cool. So I worked for the community outreach program. So I actually got to go to schools outside of Burbank to high schools and teach kids about animation and illustration. So this was on Nickelodeon's social media website where I'm with another animator and I'm teaching them about animation principles, about drawing principles. And it's so fun when you see kids' eyes light up that they finally understand something and they're like, "Oh, I got to go try this. I'll be back later." And then they take off to go try it for themselves. It's so fun to see that little light, that little light bulb turn on. And that was always something that was really cool for me, was getting to explain to kids and people like, I'm working as an artist. Like, everyone kept saying, my first wife kept saying, you're going to be a poor artist. You're never going to, make anything of yourself. And now I'm working for Nickelodeon. It's like, somebody wasn't, thinking it through. It's totally possible. And I got to do some other illustrations for Nickelodeon's social media page. I was responsible for a giant mural, and this was for an at-risk high school group that they'll go out and they'll do a mural for a lot of the communities. And so this is still up in Burbank, and I got to design it, and I got to project manage. I got to take care of supplies, work with vendors. Like, it was a great experience. And a lot of the stuff that I had done doing the chalk art was the reason why I got to do this. And the kids at the at-risk high school were very adamant that they wanted to do spray paint. And now spray paint in Burbank, everything's behind lock and key. They don't just allow anybody to come in and buy spray paint because tagging happens all over the place. But because I was working with Nickelodeon, we were able to make an exception for the school. And I said, okay, I want you guys to spray print whatever you want. Obviously it has to be within reason. It's got to be kid friendly. But then I'm going to go over the top of it, and we're going to create this universe looking mural. And if anybody's ever been to New York or LA where they've seen people take the spray cans, the rattle cans, and they're able to create this amazing galaxy or the cityscape within just a few seconds, that was kind of the inspiration behind this. So they could spray paint whatever they wanted. They get to do what they want to do. And then I create something out of that. And I got to create video content. Nickelodeon shared this on their YouTube page. So all of this was just, stacking more accomplished projects under my belt. A lot of these drawings that I got to do, I was just doodling on my own time. Like, I stayed super, super late every day. And I wasn't really allowed to because I was an intern, but the security guards didn't kick me out. So I tested that theory. Like, I pushed the boundaries a little bit. So I stayed in my little cubicle, and as the security guards came by, I got to know them. And so I got to know each one of them by name. Like, "Oh, hey, Roger. Hey, Mike. How you doing? Oh, Scott, working late again?" "Yep, sure am." And they let me stay. And so I got to spend, 4 or 5 hours after the fact, just doodling in my sketchbook and working on the projects they assigned me. And because I was doing stuff like this, they turned those into coloring book pages. And so now things are slowly starting to snowball a little bit more just because I'm putting in a little bit extra time. This Ninja Turtle drawing that I did was because somebody at Nickelodeon was like, "Hey, we don't get a whole lot of art like within the studio. Obviously we get, production art, stuff that's, going out for the shows, but nothing personal for us. Can you draw me something? I'd like to put something up my desk." And sure, absolutely. You got it. What's your favorite thing? "Oh, I like the Ninja Turtles." Done. We got the same, we're on the same wavelength. I like this. So if there's any other nerds out there, this is reminiscent of the 1990s Ninja Turtles Nintendo poses. So this was the current design of the Turtles with the poses from the video game. And then it started to snowball from there. Somebody, that guy hung it up in his cubicle, and people started asking, "Where'd you get that? Like, who did that?" Oh, that was Scotty. Scotty did it. Like, go ask Scotty if you want more. So I did like Dora the Explorer. I did um, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I did Invader Zim. I did let's see, Rugrats. So I got to do a bunch of those, and now they're hanging on all these people's cubicles, and now people are asking like, who did this? Who did this? And so it's, you know, more of that idea. You like, you need to get your work out in front of people. You show people your stuff. And as an artist, like it's I've tried to ask people to show me your work, show me some of the stuff that you've been doing, and they're like, no, no, it's okay, no, because they're super worried about getting judged, and a lot of this is coming from um, you feel like these are your babies, and if somebody's going to talk bad about it, you feel like it hurts you personally, and I had to really detach myself from that and not allow it to affect me. To take it as, oh, well, they didn't like that. Why didn't they like that? Can I get some quality feedback from that and see if I can't implement it in the next time I do something? That way, it turns out bigger and better than it was before. Um, and this wasn't asked for, uh, but they wanted me to do signage for their giant big screen TV, and I just took it upon myself to draw a lot of these SpongeBob characters. And I think if someone had realized what I was doing, they probably would have stopped me, but nobody stopped me. And I just I didn't ask for permission. I just did it. And it ended up going up on the main entrance they had at Nickelodeon there. So they had built this brand new 5-story facility and were transitioning everybody over from the old facility into the new building. And I got to do a dozen or so of these images, getting to draw, all my childhood favorite characters. Yeah, Ninja Turtles, Real Monsters, SpongeBob. It was such a cool thing, and it snowballed again. That, oh, well, who's doing these? Oh, Scott is. Oh, well, can we have him do some more stuff? Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Let's go. And yeah, like I continued to get more illustration projects and more things that I would, I'd stay up. Oh yeah, I can do that tomorrow, no problem. And I would not sleep. I would stay up the whole night to make sure that I could get that done and deliver it on time. Um, and yeah, that taught me a lot about production workflow and being resilient. And a lot of people, especially in that industry, they don't care like if it sucks. Like, show me what you got. Let's figure it out together. Let's move forward. Let's like, it's such a different mindset out there versus here. Um, but I will tell you honestly that working for Nickelodeon was rough in the sense of trying to survive out in Los Angeles and Burbank, because a lot of the artists that I work with, they don't make a whole lot. And so there's 4 or 5 of them all living together in a studio apartment, walking to work because they get to draw SpongeBob. And I'm like, that doesn't seem worth it to me. Why would you, sacrifice the rest of your life just to say that you can, you draw SpongeBob? Like that doesn't seem much of a life. And I have other ambitions. I had other goals. I was about to get married, and eventually I wanted to start a family, wanted to have kids. And that wasn't a suitable lifestyle for that. I didn't want to have to pick up my kids and move them every time I needed a new job. And that was the other issue with animation studios, is your contract is based on how well that project does. So for instance, the guys that work on SpongeBob, they've had a job for, decades because it's been so successful. Some of the other ones, like Glitch Techs, I don't know if anybody's heard or seen of Glitch Techs, that survived 1 season. Everybody got laid off because it didn't do well. And then you have to reapply. You're not working for Nickelodeon. You're working for the project that is being sponsored by Nickelodeon. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So every time a project is killed, you have to go apply for a new project. And so it's a constant battle for the next position. And I'm like, this is crazy. Why? Like, I guess if you're young and single and you got nothing else to do, like, great, cool, go make your dreams happen. But I'm getting married, and I don't want to have to pick up my wife and move my kids all over the place. I don't think that's fair to them. And so trying to figure out a better way to make that happen where I still get to do what I want to do, and still get to have a family, still get to have a life, get to have a home, cars, get to go on vacations. Like that's more of what I want to do. And so um, I got to go work for some bigger companies out in Utah because of other opportunities that I got at Nickelodeon. So, for example, because I'd been doing a lot of those projects on the side, I was invited to a Salvation Army event where voice actors and celebrities got to come out and got to speak with all the people that were there. So we got to feed them Thanksgiving dinner. And it was such an amazing event because these are the other artists that I worked with, Jeff and Diego. And we got to these giant canvas boards, and they just told us to doodle, draw whatever you want. And then we're going to give the kids a bunch of markers and crayons, and they're going to come and draw over the top of it. And so they, we spent, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour working on these, and then the rest of the night they just let the kids go crazy. And it was so much fun to see them, draw and say, "Mommy, I'm drawing Ninja Turtles," or "Mommy, I'm drawing the Loud House. This is so cool!" And watch them be so excited to work with us on something. And a lot of that stuff just came because I was putting myself out there and I was drawing and I wasn't, afraid to show what I was working on. And a lot of the stuff that I'd been doing was crap. I didn't feel like it was any good, but somebody saw something and somebody liked it. And so that snowballed into a position out here in Utah at a company called BioMerieux. And if anybody's ever heard of them or seen them, they used to be called BioFire. And they are an incredible company that is owned by a French medical acquisition company called BioMerieux. And BioFire started out in Idaho, and I came on when they were still BioFire, when they had these creatures called the bugs. And the
Scott,
bug,
is this also Idaho Technology?
correct? Yes, it was Idaho Technologies, and then it transitioned over to BioFire. Yes,
Okay.
and they created a product that was revolutionary. So if anybody's ever been to the doctor or waited on lab cultures to come back, so they take a sample, stool sample, blood sample, sputum, spinal fluid, and they send it off to a lab to be cultured, where it takes 4 to 5 days for that culture to grow, and then they let you know, oh yeah, this is exactly what you have. Let's get you on the correct antibiotic. Well, the problem with that is they give you a cocktail of antibiotics where it's 5 or 6 different antibiotics because they don't know which one's the right one. They're basically taking a bunch of darts and chucking them at a dartboard, hoping one sticks. And when the results come back after 4 or 5 days, they say, okay, stop taking these 4 and only take this one. The problem with that is it creates antimicrobial resistance, which is when you've taken antibiotics, your body becomes resistant, or what do you call it? The microbes or the stuff inside of you becomes resistant to those antibiotics, and so it doesn't work. And so something that's easily treatable ends up killing you because you were put on a cocktail beforehand that you didn't need to be on. The device that they have is called the torch. And now they have one that's called a Spotfire, which is a smaller tabletop version that you can be housed inside your general practitioner's office. And they can take that sample, they put it into the machine, and under an hour, it can correctly diagnose with a 94% accuracy what's wrong with you. And it was such a cool thing. I couldn't believe how cool of a device it was. And the reason why I jumped on board was because my first wife, she passed away because she had a strain of strep in her blood, and it caused her heart to stall. And so she stood up after watching a movie with her family, and she walked into her room. The strep caused her heart to stall. She lost consciousness, hit her head, and she aspirated, and which means she choked on her own vomit. And it was just a freak thing. And to see someone so healthy 1 minute and then gone the next. She was 24 years old, and that was to me was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. So to jump on board with something that, yes, absolutely, I want to be a part of something that's revolutionary to help people know about this amazing technology because it hit so close to home to me. And so this is what the project was. This is what they were using when they brought me on. They wanted me to revolutionize their clip art because they had taken these little characters they call the bugs, which you can see they're each named after a different virus or a different bacteria. So E. coli, strep, staph, herpes, RSV, rhinovirus, influenza A, and they would literally grab them, put them into their stationery, their print, their advertisements, and then clip art over the top of it. And it was not very good because they've been doing that for almost a decade. And the great part about this, I will give them this, that it was easily recognizable as their brand. So their brand was very, very easily recognizable whenever they went out to shows because people would see the bugs and they would like, oh my gosh, like this is Biofire. This is so cool. And it really made them stand out because if anyone's ever been to a medical convention, everything is the same color. Everything's gray, everything's blue, everything's white. There's a little bit of, little dash of red here, a little dash of, violet over here, but it's generally the same thing. Yellows, blues. There's really nothing that makes anyone stand out apart from each other. Well, Biofire would actually create a booth that looked grungy. They would put bricks and they'd have spray paint all over the bricks and they put the bugs in different situations and they would have them break things. So that these little, call them little assholes. So we put them in different situations and they would just break stuff. And people loved it. They absolutely loved it because it was so different. It was such a stark contrast to everything that anyone else was doing. And we actually had an event. See if I can find it. My kids keep coming in here and they keep grabbing the little toys and things off my desk. It was right here. Oh no. Anyway, it's okay. We'll get there in just a second. I think I've got it. Oh, I do. Perfect. So I actually got to create one of the bugs as we were redesigning everything. And they made a little figure out of it. And they took these figures. There was 25 or 26 different figures, I think. And they put them in these little capsules and they sent out coins to everybody that was coming to this event. And everyone that came to the event brought the coin and they put it into the vending machine. It was a claw machine that would go and they were able to get a bug. And it wasn't a one and done. It was you play until you win. And so we had a line around the convention and out the door. And we actually had the fire marshal come in and say, hey, like you guys can't, we got to break this up. There's too many people. Like this is causing a hazard. And the people loved the bugs. They would rant and rave about them all over social media and how cool they were and how awesome they were. And the creative director actually gave me a shot at creating one. So I got to create my own bug, which was so cool. And, a lot of the skills that I had picked up as a student at UVU, obviously translated. So getting to work in 3D, getting to do turnarounds with animation, getting to do expression sheets and Pantones, and then actually sending that out to a separate company and getting it back and seeing it come to life. That was so cool to get to see something that, had gone from, flat on a 2D page to now I get to hold this in my hand. I really want one. Where did it go? It's going to drive me crazy. Anyway, so, and it's all continuing to snowball. I'm doing little things on the side. I'm drawing on Post-it notes and I'm posting the Post-it notes all over my desk and all around the building. I'll draw one of the bugs and I'll just leave it somewhere. I did that at Nickelodeon. They had whiteboards everywhere at Nickelodeon and I would draw some old characters and I would just leave it there. And I, throw my little Instagram tag and people would either follow me, reach out and be like, hey, I saw this was so cool. I didn't realize you did this. This is so cool. Thanks for sharing this. This is great. And a lot of times it brought awareness to, oh, I didn't realize you could do this. Oh, wait, can you also do this? And the secret with that was I would say yes, and then I'd go figure it out later if I didn't know how to do it. And, that I'm totally willing to sacrifice a couple of nights sleep to figure this out if it meant new things were coming in. And this ended up, moving on to, we'll get there, redesigning all of the bugs and what they look like. And what I picked up from Nickelodeon is anytime they create a new show, they create what's called a Bible of the show, that everything that happens on the show has to be correlated with what happens in the Bible. And, characters, layouts, backgrounds, turnarounds, design, all of that is in the Bible. And so I actually brought that and said, well, I think this needs to, because this is a global company. We were creating stuff for the Asian Pacific. We were creating stuff for Australia. We were creating stuff for uh, Europe, and everything was a little bit different. And so I said, we need to bring this together. We need to create a cohesive look. And so this went out to everyone globally, that anytime they created something for the bugs, that um, it had to be based off of these designs, and it couldn't deviate. Otherwise, it would disconnect people from the brand, and we couldn't have that. So it's the same thing with SpongeBob. If SpongeBob's drawn a little bit differently, it's like, oh, that's not SpongeBob. That's like great, it's SpongeBob, but that's not really SpongeBob. And there's a dissociation between the two. And people want the brand once when you see SpongeBob, like, oh, that's SpongeBob. Oh yeah, cool, yeah. All of my memories came flooding back from when I was a kid, and that's kind of the idea behind it. And so, this snowballed into getting to storyboard, create little animations, little game animations for apps, and then getting to storyboard. Oh, I'll keep my cursor off that. Getting to create the characters and storyboard a little cartoon for the company. And this was one of the most widely successful animations that the company has produced, because it created the characters, it gave them life and gave them energy, and actually made them funny. And we put them in different scenarios, and we have them break stuff. Harambe, that's the little guy in the pool. He is contaminating the pool. The slug is contaminating the wildlife. Chicken bone is killing the plants. And now the spot fire doesn't cure you, but it can help you figure out where these little buggers are. And the reason why people resonated so well with it was because it entertained them. People want to be entertained. I'm sure many of you don't want to be given a bunch of information and then, let me quiz you on the information. After this, we're going to have a quiz. I hope everyone brought their pencils, because I'm going to quiz you on everything about, my past. Like, nobody cares about that. Everyone wants to be entertained. And so if you entertain them and then slowly slip in some information as you go, the retention's better. And so people were actually remembering the information that we were telling them and giving to them way better, because they had something else that they could refer to. Like, I'm sure I could go around to everyone in the room and ask you, what's your favorite movie? Can you give me a quote? Or I could start quoting something, and I could have people chiming in. And then we'd probably geek out together about how awesome or amazing that movie was. It's the same idea with this. And that was really, really fun. Really, really cool to get to incorporate that. And then as I was going, getting to doodle more and draw more, we had a freelancer fall through. They were supposed to create 3D images of the bugs, and they were going to create kind of a makeshift Space Invaders, where we had a little spaceship at the bottom, and they were going to shoot the bugs as they came down. Well, the project was due the next day, and the freelancer fell through. And I took it upon myself that night. I was like, I'm going to stay up and I'm going to create something, and we're going to see if it works. I don't know if no one's asking me to. I'm just going to do it and see what happens, because that had worked out so well in the past that I no one asked me. I just did it. And I created pixelated versions of the bugs, and they ended up using it in their branding, in their video game, in stationery, in their mailers, everything. And it was just because I decided I'm going to take initiative and I'm going to do it. And I had no idea how to create pixel art. And so I had to figure out how to do it, and then I had to apply it to the bugs. And then, that got used on T-shirts, on it got used all over on banners, on billboards. Like, it was really cool. Anyway, so that led into more work with Biomer, and then it led into children's books. So we got into children's books because in doctors' offices, people go and they wait, and they wanted children's books to be on the table for people to open it, read to their kids. And guess what? At the very end, this is a story about the spot fire. At the very end, there's an advertisement for it. So as a way for the kids and parents to be entertained with how, oh, this is a creative story, this is a fun story. And at the very end, oh, I didn't realize this technology existed. This is real. Oh, this is so cool. And so I got to create these characters that were, living their best lives, and then they get sick, and there's an issue. Like Renee has the runs, or Harry has a headache, and they're baseball players and dancers, and little boys being going out and having fun with their dogs, and being superheroes. Tying a blanket around their neck and being a superhero. they can't get back to everyday life, and they're able to go to the doctor. The doctor is able to correctly diagnose it in under an hour, and they're able to quickly get back to their normal life. And we created four of those books. And this is where things, it feels like everything's going great, and I've got a great career going. I'm going to be here forever. This is what my wife and I were planning on. Like, oh, this is everything that I've wanted. This is awesome. We're able to afford a house. We're able to go on vacations, and I still get to do everything I want to do. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is perfect. And the way I got this job was kind of a funny little tidbit. Was my boss was actually a really good friend of mine from high school. And the reason why he pulled me in for an interview was because we actually lived next door to each other about a decade or so ago. And we were on our way to a wedding, and he said, I didn't realize this, but there's a leak in my apartment. And I said, a leak? Oh, well, shouldn't you take care of it? And he goes, well, we got to get to the wedding. And I said, okay, well, I'll go pop in and take a look at it and see if there's anything that I can do. When I get in there, and there is an inch of water throughout the apartment. And I'm like, Ryan, your apartment's flooded. Like, this is going to ruin everything. And he goes, well, I'm in Draper. Like, I don't know what to do. And I said, let me see if I can figure out where the source of the leak is coming from. And I looked everywhere, and I couldn't find it. Realized it was actually coming from the apartment above us. So I went upstairs and I pounded on the door, and I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm the tenant that lives over here. Your apartment is flooding the apartment below. And they're like, well, what do we do? I said, do you mind if I come in and just kind of look around and see if I can't figure it out? And they're like, are you the handyman? Well, no, I'm a concerned tenant because this could leak into my apartment. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Why don't you come in? And it turned out their water heater, their inlet from their water heater had a pinhole, and it was just spewing water out the top of the hose. And so we shut the water off. I was able to remove the hose. I actually went out and bought one and came back and I repaired it for him. And so we were able to stop the leak and fix the leak. Well, because of that experience, he's like, I can attest to your character. And I didn't think, my work was that good. And the reason why they hired me, or they were looking for a candidate, was because they need someone for video work. And I hadn't done a whole lot. I'd done a little bit for, UVU and a little bit for Nickelodeon, but that was it. I was going up against people that had, incredible portfolios, that had done amazing animations and motion graphics. I didn't have any of that. But the reason why he brought me in for the interviews is like, I can attest to your character, and I know the kind of person you are, and I know you're going to figure this out, and I know that you're going to put the time in. And that was one of the deciding factors, was because I was, willing to just do it. I could have gone through the proper channels and called the handyman and been like, hey, there's a leak in here. And he probably could have taken a day or so, and it could have destroyed my apartment and his apartment, and maybe even the apartment above. Like, I don't know. But because I took initiative and I just did it, it ended up paying off 10 years down the road, and led to bigger and better things. Well, while I was there at BMRU, they had a program where I could go back to school, and they wanted to put me in a management position, but I needed an MBA to be able to be in a management position. So they paid for me to go back to school to work on my MBA, and that was an incredible experience. They chose me to go to Ireland because of the project that was with a company called Sirius XT, and it started out of the University of Dublin. It's a microscope that allows you to see what's happening with microbes without killing them or freezing them. And the reason why that's so significant is because they want to be able to see in a 360-degree view what's happening to the cell when you apply drugs to it or you apply a virus to it. Usually what happens in order to be able to get a clear image is they have to freeze it to be able to hold it in place, but you kill the cell when that happens, or they have to do more destructive methods in order to be able to see exactly what's going on. Well, with this, they're able to zoom in on the cell, and without destroying or damaging the cell, they can see in real time what's happening. So it's this amazing revolutionary microscope that they've created. And so we actually helped create a strategy for them to get into the US market. and that was so much fun. I had such a great time. We ended up getting to go all over Ireland, uh, getting to see the Cliffs of Insanity, if anybody knows the Cliffs of Moher, where the Princess Bride was filmed. That was pretty cool. Getting to go to the Guinness factory. The Guinness factory was something else. It was its own experience. You climb to the top of the tower, and it's taking you through every different angle and process about how this is manufactured. And we got to taste a little bit of Guinness at the top. We did 0.0. If anybody knows what that is, it's non-alcoholic Guinness, and it tastes like burnt wood. It's not my cup of tea, not my thing. But still, it was a really cool experience. The whole experience in and of itself, just getting to showcase to people, the process of how they do this, was neat. And then this little spot right here. Does anybody know what this is? Anybody take a guess at what this is? This is Blarney Castle. This is the Blarney Stone. So right behind me, right here, is where they're going to kiss the Blarney Stone. Now, I did not kiss the Blarney Stone because they do not wipe or clean the Blarney Stone. So I did not want to kiss the stone because I didn't want to kiss everyone else that had come up and kissed the stone. So I got up to it, went like, yep, looks good, and walked away. And I have no regrets of that.
But you have the spot fire to fix everything up.
Yeah, but I don't want to use it. Just because I have it doesn't mean I want to use it. So we got up over there to where the Blarney Stone was, and because it had been touched so much, it was actually concave out of the stone. It had been worn down so much, it wasn't a flat piece of rock anymore. It was actually starting to concave a little bit. And I'm like, that thing looks black. I don't know. Like, cool, great. I'm so glad you guys got there, wanted to kiss the Blarney Stone, but I'm good. I'm cool looking from here. That's good. Anyway, while this was all happening, bioMérieux went through a transition. bioMérieux bought BioFire, and they were officially transferring everything over to bioMérieux. Well, they hired a new president of operations, and she cleaned house. She got rid of the bugs. She got rid of my team. She got rid of everybody. And we thought that we were going to be there for a long time. I thought going to school, getting my MBA, I was going to be in a management position. I was going to be at bioMérieux for the next 2 decades. I was going to be there forever because this is exactly what I want to do. This is amazing. This is so cool. And then I got the door slammed on me, and suddenly, I'm out of a job, and I still have to go through school. They didn't finish paying for school. They cut me off about halfway through the program. And that's when I met Steve. And bioMérieux was nice enough to try to help us with that transitionary period, but it was tough trying to figure out, okay, well, who can I go show my stuff to? Who can I go talk to? I kind of had to transition to a more of a designer, and I didn't like the graphic design portion or the motion graphics portion. Like I think it was really monotonous, kind of boring. There was no life in it. It was just kind of, oh, that's neat. That moves. Cool. But there was no story to it. And that really bothered me. And so I had a neighbor who actually worked for a company out in Virginia who came over one day and was kind of looking through all the stuff that I had done and noticed a couple of the videos that I had done as kind of a side project. Was, oh, are you a graphic designer? Yes, I can do that. Yep, absolutely. And he goes, well, here, let me get you in touch with some people. And he ended up getting me a job for a online company called Onica Systems. And this was after a year-long period of being unemployed. Not knowing what was going to come next, not knowing what was going to happen. I'd spent that last 6 months or the 6 months in that going through my master's program and try to figure out how to pay for it. And really not wanting to drop out because this was something I had committed to, and I definitely wanted to see it through to the end. And we were able to come up with creative, clever ways to figure out how to do it. That was talking to my accountant, and we were able to come up with a way to pay for it. And so BMRU was able to pay for the whole thing because we were really clever with how we did it. And um, that actually worked to my favor. Uh, being able to complete it. The problem was it actually hurt me a little bit because I was now a MBA graduate. I had better credentials, thinking that this was going to make me more valuable in the marketplace. Well, after applying to 100 positions, I had to stop using my MBA and not stop putting it on my resume because people were saying I was too overqualified. That people didn't want to hire an illustrator or hire a graphic designer because now I have an MBA. Now you got to pay the MBA price, and they didn't want to do that because they were, graphic designers, come a dime a dozen. As I've heard an interviewer say that, there's plenty of people behind you that are willing to take this position, and it's well, yeah, but don't you want the most qualified candidate? Don't you want somebody who can manage projects and take care of this and hit your deadlines? Like, isn't that really important? And yeah, they just didn't want to pay the price for it. And so there were some interviews where I actually had to completely omit the MBA and not really talk about it. Talk about project management skills, talk about skills and experiences that I've picked up, but saying that I've got a master's degree wasn't a topic of conversation. And so that really sucked, going through that and having to all this wonderful experience, getting to meet all these wonderful people, you know brand management, product management. I actually got to create several branding experiences for other companies that we had worked with because of this. So a company out of Utah County called SCAN, which is the Skin Cancer Awareness Program. They teach hairdressers how to look for melanoma or signs of melanoma in people's scalps. So when was the last time you ever had someone look at your head for signs of melanoma? We're outside all the time, sun's beating down on you. Probably never, right? Well, that's how the founder figured out that he had skin cancer. Was his hairdresser said, "Hey, you've got something weird going on. You might want to get that checked out." And so for free, they teach hairdressers to look for signs of melanoma and then refer them to a dermatology professional. And I got to rebrand the whole company because of that. I got to do training videos for them. They hired me freelance to come out and do a lot of that stuff for them, which was so neat. And I talk about that, but I couldn't say, look, I'm an MBA student. The reason why I got to do that was because I'm an MBA grad, and that really was kind of a bummer. But getting to go on at Annika, I got to do a lot of government work. So I worked for the USCIS and got government clearance and was able to work on some pretty cool projects for them. I got to help train data analysts on how to tell stories and best methods on how to tell their story with data, because they've got all these numbers but no real skills on how to present it or how to showcase it to people, because if I just show you a bunch of numbers, like, that's not going to make any sense. But if I can guide you through the storytelling process and make it emotionally impactful, then you'll remember a lot of that information better. So a lot of the skills that I picked up at BioMeriU and Nickelodeon, I was able to implement into these government projects. And now everything you've heard about the government is true. It's wildly inefficient. There's a lot of redundancies. There's a lot of red tape you have to go through. And so doing things on your own was a lot more difficult. And still trying to, do things on my own for different projects was great, but it kind of had to take a back seat because they wanted me to do what they wanted me to do. And, I was able to do little things here and there on the side, but it really didn't amount to much, which was like, I hadn't seen that before. Like, everything that I had done, I'd always done little things that had always, oh, well, can you also do this? This is cool. Can you do anything else for us? And snowballed it into something else. And now I was starting to lose momentum, and I wasn't sure what was going on, or what was, this is really kind of driving me crazy. So I started to do more freelance work. So I picked up jobs on the side and started to do more 3D work. I started to do more design work. I worked with a company called LitJoy out of Utah County, where they create products for book clubs. And they take these products and they send them out in these big boxes. So they have a monthly subscription where they get the book and they get a couple of knickknacks and art tchotchkes and stuff. And, they pay a monthly subscription, and that's what they get. So I got to work with, Harry Potter projects. So I got to recreate the cursed necklace. And then I got to recreate one of the death masks from Bellatrix Lestrange, from one of the Death Eaters. And then I started having people ask me about, oh, hey, you can do this. Can you also? I have this little issue with my Disney picture frame. Do you think you could make some pieces to this? Sure, no problem. Going online, you realize that Disney doesn't make any little bits and pieces for their picture frames. They're silhouette picture frames. So right here at the bottom, I created a file and figured out how to do CAD again, because I'd done a lot of that in school, but hadn't really touched it until that point, and created the backing pieces on the frames. And then that started to snowball. Oh, can you also do a clip? My foosball table is having trouble. It's not bolted down. Can you create another clip for me? I can't find the clips anywhere. I don't want to spend another $200 on another foos table. Sure, no problem. Going through the process of figuring out how to make that work. Hey, I've got a hose that needs to connect into a pump, and I don't want to have to buy a new piece, and I don't think they make this type of pump anymore. Can you create a piece that would work with this? Sure, let's figure it out. And there are no, if anybody is wondering, this is called a bayonet coupler. I had no idea what that was called. I had to go online and scour, even ask AI and try to figure out what it was, and even AI had no idea what it was. So figuring out this was called an AI or a bayonet coupler, and then there are no tutorials at all on the internet to figure out how to do this. And so I had to figure it out on my own, which was awesome, because that leads into the next thing we're going to talk about. I decided I was going to pick up 3D printing. And so I bought a 3D printer, and that one went kaput. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to stick with this. I really like this. My kids really like this. It's really fun pastime. So just as a hobby, I'm going to do this on my own. And so I bought a 3D printer, a nice bamboo 3D printer, and was like, you know what? I'm running into some more creative issues. I want to explore this a little bit more. And I'm a hunter as well. And my wife doesn't like me to display the animals in the house, which is fine, because she grew up with her dad. Her dad is a big time hunter, Alaska, Africa. There are full-size cougars in his house. So animals everywhere. And she's like, nope, we're not going to do that in my house. That's not a thing. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a bummer, because the stories that go along with them are so cool. They're great stories. And, I want to honor the animals that, I harvested. And what's a way I could do that? Hey, what if I shrink it down? What if I take it, I 3D print an exact copy? I use my sculpting skills and the design skills that I picked up in school and make a miniature version. And, oh, my kids are in trouble. Actually, you can see it right here. It's this little guy right here. So I didn't want to just make one to make one. I wanted to make it practical. Let's have a use for it. What could it do? Where could it go? Well, if I make a backing plate for it, so this is in the shape of Utah, and that little star there is where this gentleman actually harvested, this deer right here. So this was mine. That was mine, and then this was a separate one. And he harvested that animal right there where that little star is. Now, I wanted it to make it practical instead of it just sitting there. So I figured out how to put magnets on the back of them. Now you put it on your fridge, and you can take the deer skull and you can use it to hold stuff up. Now it's got a practical use. Well, I had some other enthusiasts reach out. Well, they're like, well, I want to put one on my desk. Can I do that? And I said, sure. And so now I'm creating a mount that goes on your desk. So now you can take this, you can put it on your fridge, you can put it on your desk, you can hang it on the rearview mirror of your car, you can put it on your locker, you can put it wherever you want. And now you can display these, amazing animals wherever you want, and still have the opportunity to share these stories without having to either damage the skull or put your wife out for having it displayed in the house. And so this leads to what I'm about to get to with where I'm at now. Because of my mechanic skills, I was a mechanic for almost a decade. So I can read blueprints, I can fix things, I can diagnose things. And being a master level mechanic comes with a lot of secrets and knowledge. And on top of that, not only going to trade school, but having a bachelor's, which I forgot to mention, when I was going for my bachelor's, I had the opportunity to go get a BFA or graduate early and with a Bachelor of Science. And now because I decided to graduate early, I got a Bachelor of Science in design. That's what my degree is in. And I was already working as an artist. So I'm like, I don't feel like I need to go continue on with school. I want to be done. I don't want to spend, an extra, what was it, 10 grand to go to school for the next year. I'm good. Let's graduate early and continue to work. We're already working. We're already making money as an artist. Why not? And I graduated with a Bachelor of Science. Now that actually helped me in this scenario because after another Annika didn't work out, Doge came in and I got doged. And that was rough because it began, 300 applications. I'm walking into businesses in a suit and tie, handing them my resume saying, hey, I see you have an opening. I'd like a job. I'd like to show you what I can do. Having face-to-face conversations with people, they say, sorry, we don't do that anymore. Go fill out an application online and we'll reach out to you. Hold on. I'm here. I have a resume. I'm suit and tie. I'm presentable. I have education. I have experience. I felt like it was a scene from what is that? Pretty Woman. Like I have money. I have money. Like I have what you want. Like let's figure this out. And they tell me thanks, but no thanks. And through this past year, I've had neighbors rally around me. I've had friends rally around me and help me try to look for opportunities, try to find freelance opportunities, things to help keep the lights on, keep food on the table, and getting to do more freelance work. Like I'm currently illustrating a children's book about dragons, and that was just happenstance that somebody I was good friends with. We were up on the mountain. If anyone's ever done the Total Archery Challenge, if you haven't, it's incredible. It's fun. It's a great way to get outside. They take you to the top of the mountain and you shoot targets all the way down as you're hiking down the mountain. It's awesome. But while I was there, I was talking to a friend and somebody else overheard me say, oh, hey, are you an artist? I have a friend who's looking for an illustrator. Got us in connection. And now I'm illustrating a children's book. And a lot of it's just talking, just putting yourself out there, being out and about, not sitting in your house and woe is me, twiddling your thumbs. I hope I find something on LinkedIn or I hope I find something on Indeed, because after 300 applications on Indeed, LinkedIn, KSL, reaching out Facebook and trying to make contacts, like none of that worked. I got a handful of interviews, and even from the handful of interviews that I got, let's see, 2 offers over the past year. And, so that's averaging just about a resume a day. And with, design, it's a lot more difficult because I've got to tailor my resume to every single application that I apply to. I can't just take everything that I've done. Oh, look at all these cool things that I've done. Hire me. Like that doesn't work. They want to see what I can do for them. And so I have to do deep dive research on every single company. I've got to figure out what their needs are, where their pain points are, and then create content and then submit that. So I interviewed at, Western Governors. I interviewed at the Salt Lake City government, the Office of Business Acquisition, or the Office of, it's for entrepreneurs. It's so when businesses come into Utah, they have resources to help them out. And each time they're like, yeah, you're great. Thanks so much. But it's not quite what we're looking for. And then they wouldn't give you any feedback. Oh, well, then work with me. Tell me what you need. Tell me what I can do, and I will do it. And I'll get back to you. And the problem with a lot of that is they don't ever give you feedback. And so looking for jobs is very, very, very difficult as a designer because you don't get the feedback. To them, it's not worth it, which is a real detriment, because if you want people to come work for you, you need a pool of people that you can pull from. My older brother is a business owner, and he says the number one issue that he has is finding qualified candidates, finding honest people that are willing to come and work. And so you'd think that it'd be smart or in their best interest to kind of help cultivate that pool a little bit so that they can pull from it when they need it, instead of no thanks, but no thanks. No, no thanks. You're not quite what we're looking for. No thanks. And then complain later that, oh, I can't find a qualified candidate for my position. Mm, like you're shooting yourself in the foot. So anyway, so as I continued to do more freelance work, uh, people started talking. I started doing more 3D printing and started sharing some of the silly things that I had been working on. And people started to talk. And now I've got 3D printing design and 3D skills under my belt. And I'll share a little secret about AI, do a little AI plug in here. So I don't sculpt every single one of these. It would take hours and hours and hours to sculpt these exactly identical to the way somebody had, um, uh, or as somebody has it. And so I actually use AI. I take a front, a side, a back, and another side. So basically do a 3D turn, and AI helps me create a model that I can then sculpt on top of. So it drastically reduces the time for each project because AI helps me create it. And now it's not perfect. So that's why I have the sculpting skills to go back and fix those little details that really sell that, oh yeah, this is exactly what my deer looks like, or my harvest looks like. This is so neat, because if it didn't and I tried to sell it, like it wouldn't work out, and the company wouldn't survive. So using AI to help in that regard, where I have the skills, but I use the technology to help get me to a place that's a lot faster. Now I can scale this by myself instead of having to take a week to sculpt something and get feedback from someone. It could take a month. Whereas if I could just get it done and get it done quickly, they look at it, yep, great. Oh, maybe one or two tweaks, great, cool. And now we're off to 3D printing. Now it's reduced a lot of that downtime. And so with all of this, people start talking. I had no idea that the skills that I had, the design skills that I had, the hobbies that I had picked up, my mechanic skills, all rolled into my now current position as an engineer. So somebody had made a comment to somebody else about an engineering position at Northrop Grumman. Well, I reached out to that friend and said, "Yeah, sure, I can do what you need. Absolutely, not a problem." He said, "Well, would you be willing to come in for a meet and greet?" Yes, I absolutely would. Do they like donuts? Do they like bagels? You got it. I will have breakfast. Sounds good. I'll see you there at 9 a.m. And I went and got to meet the team. Now, it wasn't an official interview. It's just a meet and greet. So I was able to kind of schmooze with the donuts and bagels, which was great because when I came back later, like, oh, yeah, you're the guy that brought the bagels. You're the guy that brought the donuts. And yep, that's exactly right. I'm glad you remember me. And I got to bring in a lot of these things that I had been working on, and that was a big part of what they were doing for prototyping, was doing these 3D printing. So they'll create stuff in CAD, they'll 3D print it and see if it actually works, and then if it works, great, they'll mass produce it. If it doesn't, then they take it back to the CAD software, and it's a really quick and easy way for people to see what's going on. Now I know I just looked at the clock. I've been yapping forever, but anyway, the whole kind of tidbit and point of this is to don't stop putting yourself out there. Continue to work on yourself, continue to build stuff, continue to create things, because people will start talking. And if you start to share that stuff with people, the people that you don't know have an opportunity will reach out and say, hey, can you also do this? Which in return you say, absolutely. And then you go take the next night to figure out, get as many books and YouTube tutorials as you can to figure out how to do it. So I apologize. I talked a lot, but I feel like there was a lot to share and a lot to offer. But now I start beginning of next month. I'm currently going through um, uh, background checks and drug tests and all that jazz. So yeah, any questions? I know I talked a lot. I apologize for rambling, but I honestly could talk a lot of forever about this stuff. It's so fascinating to me. I'll give you guys a chance to talk.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I'm going to put a few people on here and let them ask if they have any questions for you. So I'll just start picking people randomly. First person is Sean.
That was very, very informative and awesome. I don't really have any questions. It's answered a lot of what I did have. Networking, networking, networking. So, congratulations. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get back to the gallery here. Okay. Will you quit screening for a sec,
Oh,
Scotty?
yeah, sure. No, my stuff's cool.
That'll
Hold on.
make it a little bit easier for me. All right.
There you go.
All right. Next up is Tommy.
I don't have any questions. That is an awesome story and an awesome journey, and I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I know this guy always has questions. Oh, I didn't get the first person that had his hand up there. Jason.
Ah, whoops. Okay, now we're there. I had a question while you were talking, but I forgot to ask it. No, I'm kidding. No, that was very, very, very detailed. Um, so because it sounded like, and I didn't get the name of the company, but after you left Nickelodeon, and it sounded like they were doing, they were hiring you out to other projects. Uh, it didn't sound like that work was quite as it certainly with the government was quite as interesting as what you had been doing. Um,
No,
and
but
that
it was, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and that triggered you starting to do stuff on the side. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
I got
but
bored.
yeah, and so do you see this work that you're going to be doing with Northrop as being more artistically satisfying compared to what that was?
I like solving problems, and it comes from my mechanic background, having to diagnose something, figure out why something isn't working. And I see it as I won't be bored because there will be so many problems to solve and so many things to tackle that after I get done, solving all of that, I'll be satisfied. And
Yeah, because that's an interesting combination of interests, if you will. But yeah, the engineering side and the artistic side. That's because um, I found that in my work and problem solving, but writing software, it's a creative process. Um, that triggered something, but now I just lost it. But so, oh yeah, that was it. Are you good? Are you working on Sentinel then? Is that what the
well, so that's kind of the catch 22 with working for Northrop
yeah.
is there's a lot that I can't talk about.
Oh, right.
And so I'm going behind the curtain. I'll have to go through DoD clearance and everything. And once I'm on that side, like I won't be able to talk about what I work on. But what I can tell you is it'll be for a tooling engineer. If anybody knows what a tooling engineer is, so when you create airplanes, there's a lot of carbon fiber that goes
Right.
into the manufacturing for it. And the way they make it look like an airplane wing is they create what's called a tool. And the tool is a giant aluminum mold. They put the carbon fiber into that mold and they cure it. They put it into giant ovens and lay chemicals on it. They layer, I think, about 15 layers of carbon fiber over the top of it before they get a nice thick piece that they can use. And so I would create the tools. I would create the molds that the wings go into to create the wings.
Hmm.
And so I think it's incredibly fascinating because
Well, and like I say, it's a totally different scale of work compared to your little deer heads. I mean,
right,
it's
right.
yeah, yeah, that's going to be. kind of a mind stretcher, I would think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, they took me on a little mini tour and showed me all the airplane wings hanging up on the open side, which is what they could show me and talk
Right.
about. And one of the tools that they use, because they use a lot of CNC, a lot of welds, a lot of solid aluminum. That when they showed me one of the tools that they had, I would say this is a $500,000 piece of aluminum. Like, um, this little deer head cost me like $1.50. Like,
Right. So if there's a
that's a lot of
mistake
money.
when it prints, it's not quite that big a hit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why they want to make sure that, through CAD software, they create a scalable 3D printed version. That way it's not a $500,000 bath.
On the first
Mhm.
first
Yeah,
pull. Right.
exactly. So,
All right.
and
Well,
that's, I mean, and that's like universal through like all artistic process, especially like Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon, when you create like a 2D asset, if you decide later in the process, so say you're almost done wrapping the show, you want to create another 2D asset. Well, now you have to take it back to the beginning and create it from scratch and add it in because 2D is a lot more, it has to be hand drawn. So it's way more expensive to do that in 2D versus 3D. Whereas 3D, you can just create a model and now you can take that model and you can use it for whatever you want.
over and over again. Right.
Yes, over and over again. It's a lot less expensive.
That's
That's why you see
interesting.
cartoons moving towards 3D versus staying 2Ds because it's less expensive to do it that way.
Boy, that seems non-intuitive when you say it that way.
Right? Right?
Huh.
Okay.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Next up is Desiree.
Well, congratulations on this very long journey. It sounds
Thank
like
you.
it was, I will tell you, your story was very intriguing. I thought it was really awesome to hear kind of start to finish. And I thought it was really awesome the way that just you doing what you love got you to where you are. And it will probably continue to push you right on through the rest of your career. So I thought it was amazing. I did note again, I did listen to you start from start to finish, and you mentioned at the beginning that because of being an artist, you're
Mhm.
anti-AI. But
Mhm.
then you mentioned after starting the works job search again that you did use AI.
Mhm.
So kind of bringing yourself down to what it's like to apply for jobs today.
Mhm.
So did you update your resume with AI or did you keep it to just your cover letters? How did you end up incorporating AI kind of surrendering to it, I guess is a good word for it.
That's a
Um,
great way to describe it.
yes. So what did you end up doing?
So utilizing AI to help me write a lot of that, and then I actually used it as an art director. So I would feed it a lot of the work that I would do, and I would say, "Hey, compare this to what you see out there, and give me some feedback. Give me some ideas. What could I do better? What could I fix? What could I um, improve on? Does this communicate the story well?" And now AI is really difficult with a lot of that creative direction because I'm sure many of you used it, tried to create images and pictures, and it doesn't give you exactly what you want. And the biggest issue I felt was I couldn't submit an image and be like, "Hey, can you fix this little piece?" It wouldn't do that. It'd give me a whole new piece. It would regenerate the entire thing. And the reason why I said I was against AI from the beginning was because if I'm sure you've seen it on social media, people will post stuff and be like, "Oh, I'm a struggling AI artist," or "Help a struggling AI artists, get their feet underneath them." And it's like, okay, I have spent countless hours grinding in front of my monitor and with a pencil and paper. And now you're just throwing out, this pretty decent image and saying you're an AI artist now. Like that doesn't resonate well with me. But to use it to help teach me or to help guide me through a process, 100% on board. Because now I have a private art director that can give me feedback and compare it to stuff that's already out there. The biggest issue with being an artist is reference gathering. Is I've got to spend a full day trying to gather references so that I can then use it, do exactly what AI does, combine it in my own way, and then create something that's unique to me. And then that's the biggest issue right now that people are fighting against is AI's scraped all this material and now it's creating something new. And now they want that stuff to be, trademarked. And that's I can't give a machine the same rights as a human. Like that doesn't work. And then the whole thing collapses. Like that's not, but I can use it as a tool. I can definitely feed it my own stuff and then have it turn out something new. Absolutely. I think that's exactly where the industry is going. If anyone's followed the job market for Disney just laid off their entire visual design department, 1,000 people. They have been with Marvel since the beginning, since Iron Man. They're the guys responsible for creating the look, the feel of Marvel, the intro, the opening cinematic, the costumes, everything. The whole department gone overnight, because now they can take everything that they've done, because it's their private intellectual property. They own it. They can then put it into AI, and then they can churn out stuff way faster. So it's a big bummer to see those people replaced, but that's kind of where everything's going. That if you take your own stuff and feed it into AI, you can absolutely have it create stuff, because look, I've created that stuff. It's my stuff. The issue is you have a library big enough to be able to pull from before it starts pulling from other things. That's the issue that a lot of solo artists run into, is I just don't have the volume. Disney has the volume. They've been doing this for decades. So they have all of this material that they can pull from and then spit stuff back out. And so that's kind of the battle that I see on with AI, is people are trying to claim that, oh, I'm an AI artist. Like, are you though? Like, really? You're a prompter. And I see that coming more and more and more, that people are utilizing it in that way. And it's really cool what people can do. They're able to crank projects out like never before, so fast. Does anybody have any idea how long it takes to create one episode of SpongeBob? Just what?
1 year.
1 year. Wow. It's 1 year to create one episode from start to finish. It's I'll spare you the pipeline, but it's an incredibly long pipeline. And there is a company literally just down the street from me. If anyone's ever heard of Space Station Animation, or he's an influencer. His name is Sean Duras. He's created a in-house animation studio. He can create an episode in a week.
Oh, wow.
The bigger studios don't have a chance. The creator economy is coming, and they are going to destroy these bigger companies because they can turn out cartoons so much faster. So now it's going to be speed. They're going to try to do, everyone's ever heard of the quality triangle, where you can do things cheap, or you get 2 of the 3, cheap, fast, and quality, or good.
Pick
you can only have 2.
Like 2, yeah.
Yeah, you pick 2. This is the first time in history where you can have all 3.
Wow.
Where you can have something fast, you can have something cheap, and you can have something good. And because of AI. Now, you have to have somebody who's trained on the other side to be able to determine what quality is. So you still need a human being to say, yes, this is what we want, this is what we need. But you can't just churn out a bunch of stuff and hope that it hits your markers. Because you could get online right now. Hey, create a card game for me that's based on Dungeons and Dragons, and create artwork that goes along with it, and then try to submit it to the market. It's probably not going to work out very well. You have to know what your market wants. You can't just submit stuff and hope for the best. You've got to do some research. You got to figure out what the consumer wants. So in this instance, you got to figure out what your employer wants. You got to figure out what they're looking for. You got to figure out what their pain points are, and then you need to create solutions to those pain points. But talking to people, getting out there and meeting with people and asking them questions, and being bold, and not letting AI do the work for you, but allow it to assist you. So I'm not allowing AI to create any artwork for me, but I am definitely allowing AI to help me speed up the process to get to that point. Because if it takes a year to create an episode of SpongeBob and a week for the content creator down the street to do it, the market only cares about speed and how fast you can give it to me. The quality is, oh my gosh, it's not irrelevant, subjective. The quality is subjective. There's stuff out there that I think is garbage that people love, and I can't understand why they love it. But there's other stuff that I think is amazing and incredible, and people hate it. Okay. And so it's very subjective. You got to figure out what the market wants. Like, I'll be perfectly honest, I am not a fan of SpongeBob. I'm just not. I don't think the cartoon's funny. I don't think the art is great. I cringe every time it gets turned on. But I ended up working for the studio that owns it. And I'm big time Ninja Turtles. love Ninja Turtles. And so getting to do that was incredible and amazing. But there's so many different variations of the Ninja Turtles because it hasn't worked out. I was there when they rebranded and they made the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Came out these brand new designs. If anyone knows who Samurai Jack is, the art director for Samurai Jack was placed in charge of the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it had a lot of similarities to Samurai Jack. It only lasted a couple seasons. SpongeBob has been going on for 2 decades. So you need to understand exactly what the market wants. Doesn't matter if it's cool. It doesn't matter if the Ninja Turtles are amazing and they can fight and now they've got magic. Like, that doesn't matter. If SpongeBob's beating you, they're doing something right. And so you need to figure out exactly what that is and how that resonates with the consumer. In this instance, when you're using AI, you need to know exactly what your employer wants. And maybe that requires a phone call and says, hey, is it cool if I, come meet with HR, or is it okay? I did this with artists all the time. I'd reach out to artists and say, hey, I really like your work. Would you be willing to go out to lunch with me? I'd love to take you out and pick your brain. And sometimes they would respond and sometimes they wouldn't. And when they would respond, usually they were very respectful and very kind and say, oh, I'm really busy right now. I don't really have time for that. And I actually got a couple of meet and greets because of that, because I was willing to take people out for lunch and was able to expand my network. And, I have $100 in reserve. So when I go out and I ask people to lunch, I've got the money to be able to take somebody out and just barrage them with questions and make them talk about them, because everyone's favorite word is their own name, right? And so you create this, use AI in such a way that it benefits you, because everyone wants to just, I don't want to do the work. I hated this, having to, rewrite my resume all the time, having to redo my portfolio and try to resubmit that. Oh, it drove me nuts. I was so bored, so just burnt out from that whole process. But AI was able to help mitigate a lot of that and was able to speed up that process a lot faster, because then I could go and ask AI, hey, what is do an analysis, be a business analyst for me. Analyze this business. Give me some pain points. Give me some things that are working. Give me some things that aren't working. Can you go and scour the internet and see if there's any reviews of people that are unhappy? And then take that information and use that as your solution. Create a solution to that, and then take that to the hiring manager or to whoever you can get a hold of at the company and say, hey, I've noticed this was going on. This is the solution. What do you think? And it doesn't matter that they would take you as a job candidate from that first interaction. It's probably going to take 4 or 5. It's probably going to take a while to develop these relationships and develop your rapport, because they don't know who you are. A lot of the companies that I interviewed for had no idea who I was, and I didn't make it past the first interview. These companies are huge companies. The state of Utah, the LDS Church, the Western Governors University. These are big companies, and because I didn't have a whole lot of connections there, it didn't work out. I didn't really know a whole lot of people, so you need people to go to bat for you. And in this instance, I had friends that were willing to put their necks out and say, hey, this guy's got good skills. He's got the ability to be able to solve this problem that you have. And from there, they were able to constantly, be that little bug in the ear. Say, hey, what did you think of Scott? Did Scott meet your exceed your expectations? Did you like Scott? What did you not like about Scott? Like, what was, and be kind of that insider ear into what's going on. And that's honestly what I would do, is use AI to kind of create a map of pain points for those companies, and then be the solution for those pain points. Sorry,
That's impressive. No, that was impressive. That actually answered so many more questions than I had initially asked, but I definitely wrote it all down because it's brilliant. That is a brilliant idea.
Good.
So
Thank
after
you.
this, I will probably be rethinking some of my more recent and maybe some companies I absolutely love to work with. I think that was a great idea. So thank you for the insights.
You're
And
very
again,
welcome.
congratulations on this big one, because I'm
Thank you.
like many of the people on this call, I'm with you. Today is actually my year anniversary that I haven't worked a full-time job. So I totally know your pain points, and congratulations on this big next step in your career. Way to go.
Thank you very much. And it's going to work out. And I know it doesn't feel like it's going to, but it will. You keep pushing, those little things will roll and snowball, and they will add up.
You gave me hope. So thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate
hope,
that.
It's there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. I promise.
I appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay. I've got a couple people raise their hands. I'll go with Tiffany, but actually Roger was first, but I'll go with Tiffany. Tiffany, ask your question because I may not get to everybody before we hit 11 o'clock.
Thank you. Well, first, congratulations, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Great story. I wish my son were here. He's 9.5, and he's been drawing since he's about 5. He's had some work commissioned, and he got his first 3D printer at Christmas, and he's
Hey, that's
printing
awesome.
stuff, and he's actually selling some to some friends. So he's I feel like I'm looking at my son when he's a little older as you talk, but
He's
congratulations.
he's on the right track.
He is. I'm at the place where you are now. I'm like really frustrated with trying to tweak every single resume because I'm looking at 3 different avenues of a career path. And I'm trying to learn more AI. Do you recommend any specific apps or AI tools that can help with tweaking resumes? I mean, I'm already using the job scan and things like that,
Mm.
but I've seen like on Instagram and some other platforms where they say you can use certain apps to send your resumes for you, so you don't have to spend an hour on tweaking every single resume for every single job description. Do you have any recommendations there?
So, has everyone used ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Does everybody know ChatGPT is your buddy AI? It won't disagree with you. It'll tell you that you're amazing. It'll tell you that you're awesome, no matter what happens.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So I started to transition away from ChatGPT. I did the subscription plan and for a little bit, and when it came time to really, I want you to be dark. I want you to go deep and tell me what I'm not doing. Can you examine all the things that I've asked you in the past and things that I've explained to you, the goals that I've explained to you, and just really, really, don't sugarcoat anything. I want you to be ruthless. Oh, sure, my guy, you got it. I'd be happy to do that. Let me lay this out for you. You're the best. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I need. And so I switched over to Grok and I switched over to Claude. They were way more down to earth and like, hey, you need to stop doing this because it's ruining your productivity. You need to stop telling me what you want me to do, or stop talking to me and go do it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not creating enough volume. Okay, great. Now I can I know where I need to focus, and test those out. If you see something online, test it out. Try it. You don't know if it's good unless you try it. And
What was the first one? I'm familiar with
Grok.
Claude. I used Claude. Croc.
Grok. Yeah, that's Elon Musk's AI. I know people have a little animosity towards him, but the tool has actually been really helpful. So I can't complain.
Okay.
And then, I would just try it out. The biggest thing that I see on social media right now is people are bombarded with resumes. And so the resumes are good, but I've got 2 separate resumes. I've got one that I submit and one that I keep in hand. And the one I keep in hand actually has my picture on it. And it's a lot more dolled up. The designer in me wanted to make it more aesthetically pleasing. And for those of you that don't have time to do that, get on Canva. Canva now has AI tools that you can use to help set that up for you. And now you need to have one that you can submit that can get through the generalized AI that companies use to help sort through. Oh my gosh, excuse me. That helps.
APS. Yeah.
Yes. And then you need to have one that you can physically hand to somebody. So the whole reason why I went into businesses was because I was getting so frustrated. I'm pumping out 100 submissions and not seeing a thing. And, calling these companies every couple of days, like, hey, I just submitted a resume. I'd love an opportunity to talk with you, show you how I can solve this, problem, XYZ problem that you have. Is there a chance that we could, touch base? And then never hearing anything back. And even going to a hiring event. I went to a hiring event a couple of months ago for Young Automotive. I was going to go right back to my roots and I was going to be a mechanic because I was like, I'm done. Like, this is so frustrating. I can't get in front of anybody. There's so many different walls and barriers to even just communicate with a human being. This is ridiculous. So when Young Automotive in Layton had a hiring event, I went and I brought a lot of the resumes that had my picture on it. And I was able to get 6 interviews, I think, because it was just a what a speed dating type interview. So you stand on the line, you go sit down at a desk, and you interview with somebody, and then you get up and you walk to the next one. And that one was awesome because you're getting to be in front of so many people was great. And they tried to recruit me to be a salesman. I spoke with a guy hiring for a parts manager position. I interviewed for a mechanic position, and each time, getting told like, "Oh, hey, yeah, we'll call you. We haven't forgotten about you. We'll call you." It's been months. I actually just got a phone call from one of the places this past Friday and said, "Hey, we want to put an offer in. We're so excited. We really want to bring you on board. We're really excited with all the experience and everything that you had." And I haven't seen anything. And I've even reached out to them and said, "Hey, just wanted to follow up on that great interview that we had. Is there anything else I can do?" "Oh, no. Like, we'll get back to you." Like, nope, no problem.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, these companies take their sweet time, and it's really frustrating because, like, hey, we've got kids. I got mouths to feed. I got lights I got to keep on. I can't wait for you to make a decision because who's the best candidate? Like, he called me and told me that, I haven't been able to find a candidate as good as you. I'm interviewing all these people. I've interviewed, 30 something odd people, and you're the best candidate. Great. Put an offer in. Why are you telling me this? The way you tell me that to me is you show me with an offer. Like, I don't know why you're calling me on the phone and saying that I'm the best candidate when that doesn't mean anything. That's not going to keep the lights on.
Right.
But the thing that I would emphasize to everybody the most is you have to get in front of people. The resume is great, but if you can't get in front of people, you're throwing darts at a dartboard. Everyone is going to submit resumes. And you get on LinkedIn. This drove me crazy. You get on LinkedIn and you submit a resume and you realize I'm one of like 600 candidates. I'm never going to be seen. That's just a waste of time. I value my time way more than the stress that job is going to give me or that potential opportunity is going to give me. And I even had people at Adobe reach out. I had friends at Adobe that were reaching out on LinkedIn, and we were able to talk a little bit and ask about experiences, and then I got ghosted. And so I'm wondering, like, what is happening? Well, okay, I've got the credentials, I've got the experience. Why can't we make this happen? And the point is because they don't know you as a person. There's no emotional connection. You have to get in front of those people, shake their hand, talk to them, say, "Hey, this is my resume. I very much like to talk to you about how I can ease some of those pain points that you're having," because that's worked for me the most. Is getting like my artwork in front of people, because not being afraid to share that. And I feel like being an artist really helped open me up, because if you're timid and you're closed off, people aren't going to want to talk to you. People aren't going to want to take the time to get to know you because they're worried that you're going to, not solve the problems that they need. And they need people that are going to talk and be willing to go out and get what they want. And yeah, that's honestly the best thing. Like, the resume is great, the AI is great, but you still need to be a human being. And you still need to go out and shake hands with people and be willing to take them out to lunch. Get on LinkedIn, say, "Hey, I see that you're in this network. I'd love to pick your brain. I know this is kind of a, out of the blue, but I'd love to take you to lunch if you're willing and open." Some people will say no because it can be considered creepy, but I've had success with it, that people will be like, "Yeah, sure. I'm totally happy to help." But you got to come at it from a side of humility and say, like, I don't have any experience in this, or I was just curious if I could pick your brain a little bit and see if we can't, find, a solution to this, or, "Hey, I've got this solution to this problem. What do you think?" And now you've sparked their interest because now there's a pain point that they can solve, and you were the solution to that problem. "Oh, great. Hey, do you have some more time to talk?" And try to snowball that to, a meetup. So that's where I would take it, is not just trying to click the apply button over and over and over again, but actually get physically in front of people. Bring them bagels, bring them donuts, because they were maybe you as the person that brought them something. That was something that I did at Northrop, was when they asked, "Well, why did you bring donuts?" And I said, "Well, because everybody comes in here asking for things. Nobody ever thinks to give you guys stuff." And they said, "Wow, that was really thoughtful. Thank you so much." And if anyone's ever been to Smith's makes square donuts. And round donuts, engineers hate round donuts. Do you know why? Because you get a big box, and you put a bunch of round things in it. You think of all the negative space that's in between it that's wasted. Square donuts, don't do that. They use up the entire space. So I actually pointed that out. And I said, well, I went to the Smith's Bakery because they make square donuts because it uses every single space in the box. So now we don't have any missing space because you could actually fit two extra donuts inside the box because of all the negative space that's inside there. And they thought that was hilarious. And because of those moments, they were, I was always top of mind because I had made an emotional connection with them. It's not, where my resume fits, criteria A, B, C, and D. They don't care. There's 1,000 resumes that are going to be like that. The thing they do care about is the people that are willing to step in front of them, shake their hand, and not be afraid to say hi or bring them donuts or bring them bagels. I did that with Sean Duras. I was actually trying to get on with Sean Duras. There were a couple instances where I had a neighbor whose sister worked for him and got me an interview. And I got in front of the owners of the company and they're like, oh, hold on. This is Mr. Beast. If anybody knows who Mr. Beast is, Mr. Beast on YouTube, I got to take this phone call. And so I was rubbing shoulders with, the bigwigs and the guys that could make the decisions. And I brought them donuts. Sean Duras is a big cereal guy. He loves cereal. And so I found a place that makes donuts that puts cereal on top of their donuts. And I brought it to him. And, that ended up not working out. But a year later, we ran into each other. He goes, hey, you're the guy that brought me the cereal donuts. Yes, I am. And that's the point, is maybe that didn't work out, but I've now made an impression in his busy mind that, hey, you're the guy that thought about me and brought me something and gave something to me. You didn't ask for something. You gave me something. And that really hits home. People won't remember what you say or what you do, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And so if you can spark interest and make people feel good, they'll remember that interaction with you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I love talking about stories and stuff. So
No, you're fine. I've taken donuts to my mechanic, and they always remember me. They're like, "There's the Brother Princess donuts."
Yep, and they'll take better care of you because of that.
I have to pass the donut place to go there. So I'm like, I'm gonna take some food. I'll take the donuts. So I've been there. It does work.
Yes, it does.
I have time for one more question, and you raised your hand there, Roger, so I didn't want to forget you.
Well, you did a terrific interview, a terrific presentation. I thought it was great.
Thank
I
you.
agree with you. I think Claude is one of the better AIs out there to use. But one of the things I do is I collect Thomas Kincaid puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, and other types of things.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about doing some of your art and publishing it on puzzles to get it out there?
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom is a big puzzle collector. We do family puzzles every year. So we'll have a little table set off to the side, and every time somebody comes over, we can do a little piece of the puzzle, and then they plaster it. So they'll put adhesive on it, and then they'll frame it and say, like, these little stories that happen throughout the year. This was kind of like the memento to that. And I would love to do puzzles. I think puzzles are super, super fun.
I love the Thomas Kincaid Disney puzzles, and there's so much going on in them. They're so beautiful. And I thought, looking at your artwork that you had from your presentation, that was coming to mind right away. And if you did that, you could actually have your name out there everywhere. But if you did that,
well, here, I'm gonna take a note.
Thanks, Roger.
That's all I got.
Okay. I wish we had more time, but I do have 11:15, so I'm going to, I'm gonna wrap this up. I wanted to say, number one, Scotty, thank you for all the graphics, everything that you shared. And I know our paths are going to continue. Yeah, thank you, everybody. So I'm putting it back to gallery. Everybody, big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am going to end the recording. He gave us so much, and we'll probably work as we do every time. We're going to go and do recapping. So let me go back and end this recording. Again, let me make sure I have a final screenshot here. There we go. Come on, computer. Yeah, I need my tech I need a tech person, not be a tech person. All right. Great. And thank you for coming, Scotty.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
I hope
you.
I helped.
Thank you.